Hello and welcome to the Holistic Nurse Academy, where we bridge the gap between Eastern and Western medicine. I'm excited to have our guest Amanda Greening on our show today, our podcast today. How are you, Amanda?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good to see you.
It's good to be seen. It's good to see you.
For those who don't know me, I'm Holly Taylor. I'm a registered nurse and a board certified holistic nurse and a certified cranial sacral therapist. We have Amanda with us. I'm excited to dive into this topic today. It may be a 5 hour long conversation because I have so many. I'm like, we can go so many directions, but we won't. But before we start, Amanda, I always like to let people know who you are and your background. So I'm just going to do that real quick. So here's Amanda's bio. Amanda is a registered nurse and a certified life coach who helps women reclaim their identity outside of their role in healthcare. After years in high-acuity settings and leadership roles, she understands how easy it is to become consumed by caring for others while losing connection to yourself. Her work focuses on supporting women in untangling who they are from what they do, love, so they can create lives that feel aligned, energized, and sustainable. Through coaching, she guides clients to rebuild self-trust, set meaningful boundaries, and redefine success on their own terms. Her approach blends real-world clinical experience with honest, compassionate coaching that meets women where they are without pressure, perfection, or pretense. My kind of woman. I'm
Thank you.
excited. I've been on that journey, so I could have used an Amanda in that situation. Yeah, so tell us a little. So you've been a nurse for how many years?
I've been a nurse for 15 years. I've been in healthcare for almost 30.
Yes, same.
And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, we've had a little bit of a getting to know you conversation and we found out that we have a lot in common. So yeah, same here. So you tell us all the areas that you've worked.
my work for healthcare started out as like a CNA, and I did like assisted living. I did work for the ambulance company,
Okay.
and I was an EMT. And then I got on working with the hospital as an EMT, and I just worked clinics until I got my nursing degree, and then I ended up in the newborn ICU.
Okay.
And I still currently work bedside there as well.
Okay. Perfect. So, and now you are a life coach. You're technically a nurse coach. That's
I'm a nurse life coach, so I
nurse.
use my licensure and board certified to become a nurse life coach. Yeah.
Okay. So when I tell people about anything to do with nurse life coaching, they always ask, what does that mean? What do they do? So will you tell us?
Well, we're different than other life coaches. We actually have a program that we have to do with so many continuing education hours
Hmm.
and get credit for that. And then afterwards, we sit for our boards, kind of like you sat for your boards again and took
Hmm.
another test.
Hmm.
And then we continue to have that certification. We have to keep our nursing license active.
Okay.
And so there is just that part of it. It's great because for nurses, there's a lot I've learned working at the bedside. Like
Yeah.
you're able to do assessments. You're able to listen to the words being said, but also assess the person saying it, seeing how they react, seeing how their body language is. So it's more of a head to toe assessment that I'm able to do as well with all the years of experience. And
Yeah.
then we just bring on those traits that nurses have: integrity, trustworthiness, advocacy,
Hmm.
all these things that you learn over time being a nurse and being there for people.
Yeah.
And
I
so
love
that's the extra bonus of being a nurse life coach. More education and all the background as a nurse.
that. Okay. Wonderful. So if I could like tagline this podcast, I would say before you walk away from your nursing degree, walk towards a different path. There's a different way to do nursing, right?
Yeah.
So, or nurses, before you throw away your nursing degree, listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
Listen to what we have to say because I know what what I think I know, and you can fill in the gaps, is that you've had a similar journey as I did, which is you were in the system for 15, 20, 30 years, and you finally hit a wall, and you look down at your options, and starting school all over again didn't sound enticing. You are a nurse, you probably have the heart of a nurse and want to keep doing the nursing profession, but you also realize you have to do it differently. Is that kind of where you got to?
Yeah, I'm in that flux stage because, like I said, I'm still working
Yeah,
bedside as well.
yeah,
But for me, my I was the kind of person that was just go, 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 go. That nurse that would always say, yes, I'll be there, go, go, go. I wasn't listening to my body, myself.
mhm, yeah,
And I had a physical hard stop that I just couldn't be a nurse anymore for a while.
mhm,
And that was the time where I really had to dig into what it looked like. And that was the beginning of my kind of what do I want to do with my life. And then when I was able to finally get back to bedside full time, I realized there was a lot missing. There
yeah.
was a lot, and I just
What?
felt
Yeah,
like I was empty, and I was so excited to be back at bedside, but I was kind of like giving it all at work and nothing left to give at home.
right. I don't think that's an uncommon story.
No.
I'm sure you're realizing this as you talk with more people.
Yeah.
Um, I've had these conversations with my husband, and he is very articulate, and he's good at putting the pieces together. And he said it in a way that I hope I can repeat, but he said nurses are conscientious, they're agreeable, and we're caring and we want to do good. So because of those traits, we become this shock absorber for the industry. And
Yeah.
it's not just nurses, but we are one of the shock absorbers where, because I've read some of your content where you're like, I always had my phone on,
Hmm.
like waiting for the phone call to see if I needed to pick up a shift, or, ready to get the call from work that I need to step in and help, or whatever X is, because we care and we know what it's like to work short, or we know what it's like to work, over having too many patients, not enough staff. So we don't want anyone else to have to go through that. But unfortunately, over the years, that takes its toll,
Yeah.
right? Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, there is that problem, especially with nurses, because we are compassionate people. Deep down
Yeah.
inside, we're compassionate people, and we don't want others to suffer. We don't want our patients to suffer. We don't want our
Right.
coworkers to suffer. There's
Right.
so many things, but we do it at our own expense.
Yeah.
We really just want to be like, I can do it all, and put that superwoman cape on and try to do it all, just not realizing that what we're doing is really burning ourselves out. We're really just making it so our all is not really what it could be, because
Yeah.
we're coming from such an empty place because we are giving so much.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're at the end of what is known as Nurses Week
Yeah, oh yeah.
today. And I just want to kind of bring up a little scenario that just happened
Hmm.
uh, that I think is funny, because I think it ties into the burnout, and it ties into this conversation we're having. So somebody on one of the nursing posts I follow, so there's like groups that you can follow on social media that are tied to nursing, and somebody had said something to the effect of, I put all this time, energy, and money into my nursing staff. For Nurses Week, I bought them T-shirts, I bought them treats, I made them little goodie bags, and you could tell she put a lot of heart into it. Um, and then she said 3% of the staff showed up, and I think it speaks to where we're all at right now as a collective. I don't think it's anything personal against her. Of course, all I know her from is her post. Like, I don't know anything about her and her culture. But I just think like it's almost tone deaf now to give us a t-shirt and say thanks for all you do, or a pizza and say thanks for all you do, because we want we want something totally different. and it comes back to work-life balance.
Yes.
Like save your t-shirts on, like, not to be rude, because I kind of got criticized. I put no, I know kind of my response is, I'm sorry that was what happened to you, but nurses want reimbursement. We want to be paid what we're worth, and we want, staffing ratios to be good, nurse to patient staff ratios to be good. Like, I no longer need a pat on the back and tell me what a good nurse I am. I need you to show me that you value me through these kind of efforts. What are your thoughts on that? Because someone kind of gave me some grief saying my response was ungrateful.
Oh.
And I was like, no, my response comes from years of moral injury and burnout.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like your response was really realistic.
yeah.
Especially with nurses that have been in the system for a long time. I know when I started my healthcare career, I worked in a healthcare industry where we helped take care of patients and things like that. And over these last 30 years, it's really amazing to see where we are now. It's more of a customer service basis because we all need those good surveys for us to get funding, for us to look good. And that a good survey does not equal good healthcare or good nursing care.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the nurses just, I know, right, when we get busy on our unit, I understand that an admin wants to do something for us,
Yeah.
but there's only so much pizza you can eat before you're done.
Right.
And that's not the thing. It's like, I understand. Can I get someone, being a newborn ICU nurse, can we get more volunteers in? Can administration come and just console babies while we're so busy with others? Like, there's things like that. That to me is more of what the nurses want. They want to be seen. They want to have management on their side, helping them out and really putting forward into, I see what you're doing. Let me see how I can help you. Because there's a lot of times that they've ordered pizza that goes untouched because the nurses are too busy to even eat.
You need it. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I just think we're ready for the bigger conversation. I think it's been gnawing away at us over the years, and just kind of like, you just kind of feel like, oh, and at first it was like, cool, thanks, or yay, we got our t-shirt. And now I am like, I don't want it. And I don't mean to be ungrateful, but it just is just beyond the point anymore. So I don't mean to be, like I said, ungrateful. But anyway, so the reason why I bring that up is because what you do and how you coach people, because you don't just coach nurses, or is it mainly
No,
nurses?
I don't coach nurses, but since I am a nurse myself, I speak that
Yeah.
language. I have
Yeah,
that
yeah.
expertise. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So basically what you help people realize or learn is that they're more than their job.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. And it's funny because I found out that I'm working with a lot of women also in the whole spectrum of burnout, which
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're living your life to your professional values,
Yeah.
that is a horrible way to live. It's great when you're on the clock, but it's a
Yeah.
horrible way to live. And that's one of the first things I talk to my clients about is, what are your personal values? What's important to you personally, not professionally, but personally? They're two different things.
Right.
And then as we have these discussions, there's a lot of things that we do, especially as nurses in healthcare and women, that are not our personal values. We just do what is expected, or even self-imposed expectations on ourselves.
Yeah. Which includes boundaries, right? So,
Yes, boundaries are a big one. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you help people find their values?
Well, a lot of it comes from just having a conversation with them and listening, using those assessment skills that I have as a nurse, and just sitting there and listening and hearing what they're saying. And even if it's not what they're out and out saying, but I'm able to be like, "Ooh, can I ask you, because I'm feeling like I'm catching a little bit of this. Am I right?" Or, and yeah. Can you explain it? And it's kind of funny that we go from one thing and it goes down a whole different thing where they realize that they're not living their values for themselves.
Yeah.
Like, for me, one of mine when I sat down was honesty. Honesty is really, really important to me. And I feel like a lot of time in healthcare, when we have patients or families asking us, hey, where's the doctor? Why isn't the doctor there? We're trying to not necessarily lie to them, but we understand that there's other things going on and you don't want to be like, you're not the most important thing right now. So you're like, the doctor's aware of you. They're busy with other, and I feel like at the same time, I was taking that home. And in my relationships, it was kind of like I was just trying to smooth them over instead of just having those honest relationships, having those honest conversations. And so for me, when I found out that honesty was one of my top personal values, and then I started to make choices about those values, you start bringing it into your professional life, and it changes everything over time.
Yeah, it does change everything when you start living by your values.
Yeah.
And not everybody loves it.
No, and a lot of times our professional values are like hard worker, always there and dependable for everyone, and that's fine while you're on the clock.
Yeah.
But when you're home, you need to let those go. You need to change into your home life personal values. And then when they start to bleed into your professional, it's a whole different place. You're still that dependable nurse, but you're also one that's not feeling guilty for saying, no, I'm not coming in extra. Or I guess I'll pick that up. I'll have someone else go to my daughter's orientation for junior high school. That should never be it.
Well, and like somebody has pointed out, and we all have heard this, no is a complete sentence.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we feel like we have to justify what our no is,
Yes.
right? What is that? Like, why do we feel like we can't say no without explaining ourselves? Or do you have any insight to that?
People pleaser.
Yeah, it's the people
pleaser. It's the people pleaser that we are. And we want to be that way. And I think right now with where healthcare is and how we want to get those good survey scores, we end up being more people pleasers than nurses or healthcare providers. And then we get home and we continue that people pleasing. Yes, I just worked 36 hours. I love when people are like, you're lucky you work 12-hour shifts. I am up in the 4 o'clock hour and I'm lucky if I'm home by 9 p.m. And I get up and do it the next day. And, I'm lucky enough that my husband does, laundry and helps with things like that. But we don't have small kids either. So at home, we have these nurses that are trying to keep up with this work-life balance and they can't. And then they get in and they just are like, if I don't say yes, then someone's going to think badly of me. They're not going to think I'm a good wife. They're not going to think I'm a good mom. They're not going to think I'm a good church member or a neighbor. But at the same time, you cannot do the roles of 5 different people. There's no physical way.
Right. So what's the answer to that? How do you manage that? I think a lot of people feel, I do feel a shift, but I think there's a lot of people, from my generation and before, and maybe after, but I think it's shifting, where we feel like we might lose our job if we do that. Like, right?
Yeah, so, like there'll be some repercussion because of it.
Yeah.
And that is a fear that if it's happened to people, that is not okay. But I find it a fear as self-imposed of us in our own minds going, hey, if you do not go and pick up so many extra shifts this month, then you're going to get the bad assignments at work. The charge nurses are not going to like you and they're going to give you the bad assignments.
Yeah.
Or people are going to be talking behind your back that you're not a team player.
Yeah.
The best the advice I can give you is when you go to work and be that nurse, that healthcare provider, CEO, whatever you are, and just put it in at work. But once you clock out, you're done. You do your job, you do it well, you know what you're doing, you're dependable, reliable. But when you clock out, you're done. You need to have a moment. I used to have to come home and drive and sit in my car for just a minute and just go, okay, all right, and just
Yeah.
leave it there. And then come in and enjoy your home life. Enjoy, your kids running up to you. I use the example of I knew things were getting bad when I got angry at my daughter for her shoes being on the floor.
Hmm.
And I remember in a very heated moment with her going, "What am I yelling at? They're shoes. She does it every day. I know they're going to be there."
Yeah.
But at the time, I had no more to give. I was so empty that it just set me off.
Yeah.
And that was one of the main things in my life. I'm like, oh, I don't want to be this irritable person.
Yeah.
And I came to find out it was just because I kept bringing work home with me. So you
Yeah.
need to find a way or a ritual to leave work at work and come home and be that person, that woman, that mother, that spouse, that friend you want to be. And whatever those personal values are, I know a lot of my friends that I've sat down and talked to about this where they're like, well, I want to be a good mom. I'm like, what does a good mom look like to you? And we've talked about it, and I'm like, oh, so when you get those texts at work, what do? Do you pick up your phone right away and start texting other people? Oh my gosh, I can't believe they're asking. And they're like, they're guilty. And I'm like, that's when you have permission to look at that text and go, no, I'm a mom. And go and spend time with your kids. And
Yeah.
just giving yourself permission. There's this shame that we feel as women when we're not able to provide for everyone. And that shame and guilt really stems from a place of fear of what are people talking about me when I'm not there?
Yeah.
Or what are they thinking of me? Do they think I'm not a good nurse? Do they and that's
It doesn't
not
even matter. Yeah.
no.
It doesn't even matter.
And it's funny because if people knew how it's not that others don't care about you, but they're busy in their own life and they're not thinking about you as much as you think they are thinking about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're busy doing their own thing. You have permission to be busy doing yours and
Yeah.
living that life.
Right. No, I love that. I think kind of going back to what you're saying about being irritable and, short-tempered, or I think what I would love for people to know when they're experiencing a nurse who comes across as not caring or checked out is because they are. It's because that is the only way they can now cope with the
Yes.
demands of their job.
Yes.
And I always had this like ideal way I wanted to lead and be in my nursing profession. And then it came down to like, I couldn't be what I wanted to be. How I was being perceived was so different than how I wanted to be experienced and perceived. And it was like I was wearing five hats at work,
Hmm.
and it wasn't like getting me anything. It wasn't, if anything, it was getting me this perception that I was, scary or short tempered, or I don't know. And like, I didn't feel like I was coming off that way, but that's sometimes how I was perceived. And I was like, okay, well, now I have the distance to go. I was burned out. I was
Yes.
morally injured and I was burned out.
Yes. And there's so many different, like burnout is a whole spectrum.
Yeah.
And I've worked with women who are just starting to taste it. And then I'm working with women who literally just want to light a match and throw their whole professional career on fire and walk away. And it's really hard on us women to understand the reason why we're irritable, the reason why things are going wrong at home is because it's stemming from work.
Yeah. Right.
And we don't connect the two.
So
And
how do people, because I think you've said like, okay, we're still worried about, did I chart everything? Did I forget something? did I leave a loose end? Like that does haunt you after a shift. So what are you coaching people to do in those situations?
In those situations, again, it's more of when you're at work, have your energy. It's kind of twofold, because if you have your energy at work, you're able to do your best. You're able to be a dedicated nurse, a dedicated caregiver to how many patients you have. And you're able to make sure that when you're at work, you're concentrated on work, you're doing everything you should, you're charting the way you should. And also, when you give report to that nurse that comes on and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot I told this family I would follow up with X, Y, and Z. You tell the next nurse that and say, I am so sorry, I forgot. Can you please do it for me? And
Hmm.
if they, and yep, that got passed on, then you let go. You have enough um, trust in your coworkers and enough trust in the system that we work for that it's going to be taken care of, it's going to be done, and your patients are going to be taken care of. And you've done everything to the best of your ability. You've done your charting, you've done everything. Sometimes you do have to stay late, I understand that, but get it all done before you clock out. And then
Yeah.
when you clock off out, leave it. You don't worry about it. You don't text the nurse again and go, okay, did you go do that? Have enough faith and trust that they did it.
Hmm.
Because with as busy as nurses are, we could worry about things for days after.
Hmm.
But to be able to do that and give your all at work, you have to go into work with enough energy
Yes.
and rest from your days off.
Right.
So having that break between this is my professional life and this is my personal life really helps you obtain that rest, relaxation, and starting your next work shift ready to go. And it's kind of like you can then put it all into your nursing and then still have stuff at home. It's really, it takes time, but over many months, nurses are like, I'm starting to see how this works. I'm starting to see there's a break. And it helps both sides.
Hmm. Yeah, it does. It helps both sides. Exactly right. And it comes with saying, okay, I agree to 24 hours a week. I agree to 32 hours a week, whatever your agreement was. And, let's say your floor shift, so you work every other weekend, whatever your agreement was. You do not have to extend yourself beyond that. There is no agreement beyond that.
No,
And that is not your responsibility if they can't figure it out.
no, no. And it's also not a badge of honor to gather up all your paid time off and you have hundreds of hours because you never take time off.
Right.
No, take your time off. Use your benefits. Use that to spend that time with your family, loved ones, even by yourself. And give
Yeah.
yourself permission. I hate
Yeah.
that women, especially healthcare workers, we need to give ourselves permission to take care of ourselves and to do
Yeah.
self-care. And
Yeah.
self-care is kind of funny. It can be as simple as, for me today, I have blocked off time to go and read a couple chapters out in the sunshine because it's warm and beautiful today. And I'm just going to go read a book for a few hours out in the sunshine. Um,
Yeah. Well, I saw you post something that said, you like working through those feelings of guilt for reading a book.
yes.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's no guilt behind it. You
No.
have to enjoy it. And it was something like, so I'm a big crocheter. I love to crochet. I love to make afghans and things like that. And I slowly found myself not crocheting. I would sit there with my yarn in my hand and just be so exhausted and zone out.
Yeah.
And so it gives permission to do things that you love. I mean, you can even do things that you've never tried before. And I mean, go try to take a pottery class. You might find out you are absolutely horrible at it, but you love it.
Yeah.
Giving yourself permission to go try new things, to go and be that person or that friend. A lot of times I would be like, oh, I'm no longer friends with so and so, or I haven't heard from them for months. That's because I didn't have the bandwidth to respond to those texts. Or, she would send them to me and I would just be like, okay, yeah, thanks, and that would be it. So a lot of friendships are also lost that way, which also makes you feel very isolated. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're feeling burned out, being isolated is not a good thing to be, because
Yeah.
then you're only in your own head and it actually gets worse and not better.
I think nursing is one of those professions that it's easy to over identify with your profession as who you are,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So you're more than Amanda the nurse, you're Amanda the crocheter, you're Amanda the friend, Amanda the mom, the wife. Um, it's easy to take on this like nursing role as our identity.
Yes.
And so in that journey of, it is a spiritual journey in a way of like, who am I?
Hmm.
Well, I'm more than a nurse, and that's a role I play, and that's a role can fill, but it's not who I am. I'm so
No.
much, I'm so much more than that, and I'm grateful that it pays the bills, and I'm grateful that it helps me do something meaningful while I'm paying the bills, but it's not who I am.
No. And nursing actually, it it helps people, like it's made me the person I am because of the skills I've learned, because of
Yeah,
the honesty, the integrity, being there for people, being an advocate and passionate. It definitely did help me become the woman I am, but I am not just a nurse.
yeah,
And
yes.
that's,
It gives you invaluable life skills, no
yes.
doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one of the first questions I ask when I have my wake up call with women is, who are you? And usually I hear, well, I'm a newborn ICU nurse. Okay. A mom? And I just sit there. And then I actually had one friend who looked at me and she goes, well, who are you? I said, I am a person who loves my friends unconditionally. I love going and spending time with my husband. And I was able to go off and she sat there for a minute and she goes, oh, I see. And and that's something we forget is
Yeah,
nursing, or our job is what we
whatever the job is.
do,
Yeah.
not who we are.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Yes. Um, what what other kinds of advice do you have for people struggling? Let's go back to like the transition from work to home.
Mhm. Yeah.
Brene Brown recently, or at least I saw this recently, touched upon the transition time for anyone from work to home and how we are little prepared for that moment, and it turns often into it can be explosive, it can turn into fights, because you haven't given yourself proper transition time.
Yes. Yes.
Do you coach people about that?
Yes, I like there is nothing wrong with driving home in silence,
Hmm.
especially in the healthcare setting,
Yeah.
especially when you've been in a room with patients and there's ventilators and monitors and respiratory equipment. Everything is beeping and loud and noisy.
Yeah.
That is a big problem we have too. And then when we drive home, a lot of times people are calling their spouses or people are calling other people just to catch up with
Yeah.
them and not allowing themselves that moment of, whew, that was a lot. It was loud.
Decompress.
Yes.
Decompress.
And
Yeah.
having those moments to just kind of be, okay. I mean, driving home in silence, driving home, listening to the music you grew up with up loud and having car karaoke is sometimes what you need as well, just to let it be.
Yeah.
And not, it takes time to be able to be like, oh man, that was a really rough day and I got yelled at more than once and it wasn't my fault and I took it. And a lot of times we're wired to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they said this, I wish I would have said this, I would. And it's like, that moment has passed, let it go. And then when you are back at work, if it's something that needs to be followed up with, if you need to write an email to someone, you handle it then. You
Hmm.
have to give yourself permission to let it go
Yeah.
and
Well, I
stop.
kind of visualize like maybe writing down those things so it's out of your head and it's there when you need to
Yes.
retrieve it. I
Yes.
also like visualizing just like tapping. Have you ever done tapping where you
Yes.
just kind of I release and let it go and you're
Yeah.
like tapping it out?
Yeah.
Um, because literally, I think that was, for me, the energy of everybody else on me from that day literally was sticking to me. And so I
Mhm.
like, just like releasing and letting it go.
And that's one thing also is when I speak to women, I'm like, oh, so when they told you that, they kind of handed you a rock to hold. And they're like, yes. And I said, did you put it in your backpack? Or did you acknowledge it and drop it because it's not yours to carry?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, I'm not saying, I like to use that example like when, because I'm also a charge nurse. And when I
Hmm.
go and check on my nurses, like, how are things going? And for whatever they have going on, they are piling on to me all the things of the day. And I will take them and hold them and acknowledge them so they feel heard and listened to and acknowledged. But when it's appropriate, if that means when I walk outside that room, if I don't need to carry it or do anything or let administration know, I drop it. I'm
Hmm.
still aware of it, but I'm not carrying that extra weight and burden of others.
Yeah.
And that's something, like you said, they're stuck to you, so you're tapping. It's kind of the same thing as just letting it go. You don't want to go through life with an 800-pound backpack. You won't get far.
Right. No, you won't get far. And you will for sure be looking for a new job.
Yes.
Because
And
you
that's
can't endure it.
no. And that's some things that people get confused of with my nursing life coaching is they think that I'm there to talk them out of their job. That is
Yeah.
not the case. I'm not there at all. I'm
Yeah.
there to help them in the situation that they are. Now, there's some women who are like, yeah, no, I'm quitting. I'm done. Okay, before you do this, let's talk about what is that going to look like for you in next week or next month. And we, start to make a plan. There have been women that are like, I can't do it anymore. And then there's been a lot of them that are like, all right, I can do this. I can use these skills and go back and do amazing jobs and able to have a work life and home life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said at the beginning, if I would have had these skills, mine were learned through life experiences, work experiences, and then the hard way. And then it all culminated and it was a big fire, right? But like dumpster fire. But if I would have had someone like you in my life coaching me through it, giving me some skills, maybe I could have, hacked it a little bit better. I think there are those people who are here to make change within the system,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
those of us who are kind of the outside the box and supposed to make it with outside the system. And I think that's a very personal journey, like
Yes.
how you decide what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. But it's not sustainable without these tools.
No, it's not sustainable at all. And if you look at nurses in healthcare, it's the stress levels are through the roof. We do not eat healthy. We eat whatever's in the break room,
Yeah.
energy drinks, all these things. We're not taking care of ourselves, but we're there is expected to take care of others. And learning how to take care of yourself is actually one of the best things that you can do for your patients
Yeah. I
because you
agree.
don't want to be that nurse. If you've ever had a family member in the hospital or yourself, you don't want to have the nurse that is burnt out and at their wits' end. You want to
Yeah.
have the nurse that just took the last few days, went camping with their family, feel happy, feel relaxed and rested. So when they are at work, they're able to give more to their job only while they're at work.
Yeah. And I totally feel that when I show up for my job now, it's in a totally different way because well, for me, it's I work less. I work very structured hours. I'm more on the one-on-one side of things.
Yeah.
And so it allows me to show up as my whole complete self, and I'm not worried about what people are taking from me. It's not like I don't feel this like if I would say if you have that voice in your head that is like people always want something from me.
Mm,
If you're having that voice in your head, it's time to do an evaluation of like
yes.
what needs to change because that's a sign that burnout is either here or on its way real soon.
Yes. Absolutely. And
Because
that,
I don't feel that tug anymore where I feel like people need, want, I feel like I just feel fulfilled. I feel joy. I feel like I can't wait to work,
Hmm.
kind of a feeling. But that's been a journey for me. That wasn't like something I stumbled upon. I was
Yeah.
very intentional about finding it.
Yeah. Well,
So, oh, go ahead. Did you have something else to
I
say?
was just going to say that it's a beautiful thing that you've been able to find it, and I'm happy you did because there's a lot of nurses or healthcare or anyone that quits their job due to burnout. If they
Yeah,
don't take care of those internal pieces, when they go to the next job, it's just going to replay itself.
right, right. It's just a different stage,
Hmm.
same performance, right? And that's why I have this platform is I want to start having these conversations and like-minded nurses so that people who are feeling this way, I don't know, I can't speak for you, I'll let you speak for yourself, but it was very like, it felt like I was the only one. Everyone else looked like they were enjoying life and their job and seemed to have no problem with it.
Yes. Yeah. And that's how I felt as well. But the more I've done my internal work and gone down this route, the more I sit there in the break room and I just kind of sit back and I listen to the words they're saying and their body language doesn't match it.
Yeah,
And so I'm like, "Oh, you're feeling it too." But we're also still in the denial phase or the I can do everything phase or I'm worried what people are going to think about me.
yeah,
And it's just like, oh, I hope a lot of these people find listen to themselves in the in the middle of the night as they're laying there stressed out or can't sleep. Listen to that voice that's coming up going, hey, something's not right. Hey, something's not right. You're not taking care of yourself, and not just push it to the side, because we're really good about doing that, taking care of everyone else and not
yeah,
ourselves.
yeah. And that to me, when that voice starts to speak, if you don't respond, you're just delaying the inevitable. And I think a couple of things will happen. You'll burn out, you'll get fired,
Yeah.
or you'll be let go, or something to that effect where the universe, I talk about like the universe will speak to you in some way.
Uh-huh.
Um, Maybe something catastrophic will happen because you're so burned out.
Yeah.
We hear these sad stories about nurses making med errors or wrong patient, wrong med, whatever the situation is, or driving off freaking parking lots because they're so tired.
Yeah.
And I think as I've sat with those things and like thought, I'm like, nobody's here to like no one's going to be your hero in those moments other than yourself. So if your inner wisdom, or your inner self, your intuition is saying something is wrong,
Yeah.
listen because it's there for a reason. It can become catastrophic if we don't listen to it.
Yes. And that actually is something that a lot of people don't understand what coaches do. And when they're like, oh, tell me what questions you're going to ask me, I'm like, oh, you're driving this conversation. And it's really, once we start a conversation and people start to open up, they start saying things that they already know in the back of their head, that their body is telling them, that their spirit is telling them, everything's screaming at them. But until they have that moment, that space where they feel safe and vulnerable, where they can talk through it and they're like, oh, I do know that I shouldn't be doing this and I still do. And then we're really able to dig in and go, well, what can we do to do what you're supposed to?
Yeah, and you can have like with someone like yourself, and I would say call Amanda. Um, um, you can steer that ship in a methodical way and it not be catastrophic and it
Yes.
not feel like the rug is pulled out from underneath you. You can take your time, you can be
Yes.
logical about it, you can get into a better mental state. So when the time comes to make that decision, you feel empowered, you're not in your fear. I always say don't make decisions from fear.
Yes.
Make them from a place of empowerment. And if you're like, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, well, that's a sign to start making some decisions to take your power back
Yes.
and start driving the ship in a more empowered place. So it might take a few years to steer your ship into the dream job,
Hmm. Yes.
you know. Or you might have a moment of clarity that says, I need to quit tomorrow, but like whatever that is, or I need to change gears tomorrow. I keep saying quit, like that's the only answer. Um, but whatever it is, a nurse coach can help you steer that ship in the right direction and more methodically, right?
Absolutely. Yes. And also, I also believe while we're talking on this subject is that as a nurse, I am very well aware of my scope of practice. As a nurse life coach, I have had to tell clients, like, I see that you really want me to be the one to help you, but actually, you need some therapy. You need to go see a therapist, a counselor, something like that, because this is worse and than you're seeing yourself.
Yeah.
And I really do think that's another benefit of having someone who's a nurse and as a life coach is we are aware of our scope of practice. I am not going to step out of that.
Yeah.
And yes,
Well,
and
you have the assessment skills
yes,
and you are a resource.
yes,
I pride myself on being a resource and being like, I'm not a one-stop shop. I'm happy to give you resources
I'm the
and
right person. Hmm.
right, because like holistic nurses are option givers. That is the definition. I think a lot of people think, because I always say we're bridging the gap between Eastern and Western because I'm not someone who doesn't believe in Western medicine.
Yeah,
I just believe in also the philosophy of Eastern as well.
yeah. And there's a place there where everything can work together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love that. So for nurses who might be listening and think, "Hey, tell me more about this nurse coach path. How do I get there?" What would you tell them?
Um, well, as in to speak with me or to become a nurse life coach.
Well, let's start with just to become one, but also, yeah, I would like to hear how to speak with you. So let's talk about becoming one first.
Okay. So to become a nurse life coach, there are accredited companies out there. And they you want to find the ones that really are doing the continuing education that give you the option of getting we all know how important it is to keep up with that to keep your license, and you want to find those companies that are doing that, and it usually is at least about 6 months if not longer are these courses, and you go and you work. There is a lot, like we go back into Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and we talk a lot about attachment theories and things like that. Um, so there is homework and assignments and things like that, but then there's also the community. The best way they teach you to coach is you're in with other coaches in groups and coaching each other, where you guys are giving each other, you're giving advice or anything like that, because coaching is not necessarily giving advice. It's letting the person figure out what they already know and helping them get from point A of where they want to be to point B and helping them bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And so I would just say dive deep into whatever course you want to do. Make sure they're accredited. Make sure that they read the testimonials, listen to them, things like that. I'm more than happy to also share, if someone wants to reach out to me, my journey. It's been amazing, and I have some amazing friends and peers from it and mentors from it. If they would like to reach me, they can find me. I'm only right now on my personal account on Facebook, and that's Amanda Perry Greeny. I also am putting out my webpage or my website, and it will be ready in the next couple days. And that is greenhavencoaching.com. And that's another way for you to read more about it. You can also sign up for just a newsletter, and I send out a newsletter every week just with tips, tricks, a little bit of advice, some storytelling, just to make you feel like you're not alone, because
Yeah.
a lot of people are struggling with this.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like this kind of coaching course content
Mm-hmm.
would be helpful for anyone in any job of nursing because I think I have a stepdaughter who's going to med school and or she's doing her pre-med And we were talking about kind of like the industry and the different parts of it. And, what I know now compared to when I started, it's like you think the knowledge of the body and how to do procedures and how for doctors it's diagnosing, for nurses it's identifying the problem and interventions. You think that's the important part, but it's really about relating. It's really about people. It's really about seeing the person in front of you and hearing what they have to say, validating them,
Yes.
giving them options, and not pushing your own agenda on what you think they should and shouldn't do. I mean, our job is to educate based on what we know in the research,
Yeah.
but also being like, you know yourself, you know what you need, and how can I support? I wish I would have known that so much sooner.
Yes. Yeah.
So much sooner. I would have been such a better nurse.
There's something about just giving someone a space to allow
Yeah.
them to talk,
Yeah.
to allow them to say their fears out loud,
Yeah.
and being able to listen and assess and then just ask those powerful questions that lead them down into more of, why am I feeling this way? And they start talking to themselves about why they feel that way. And they're telling you their story. There's so much to be learned about people and their story. Like when doctors come in and go, okay, you have high blood pressure, you need to take this medication. Any questions? They're like, nope. And they walk out. And then as a nurse, you can be like, hey, he just gave you a lot of information. How are you feeling about that? What's
Yeah.
going on? And then they're like, well, I don't know how I'm going to remember to take this. How do I put this in my routine? I don't know how I'm going to afford this. Like, patients tell the nurses so much more than they
Yeah.
tell the doctors.
Right.
And a lot of times just, going, oh, I mean, for example, I don't know how I'm going to remember to take my medication. Well, do you take any other medications? No. Okay, what's your morning routine? What does that look like? Oh, where do you feel like you can put that medication in? And so as nurses, that's what we do.
Yeah.
And so I feel
Yeah.
like giving people a space to be heard and validated and acknowledged, and then help them problem solve by them solving the problem. They're more likely to do it if they come up with the how to solve it than me.
Yeah. Right. Right. Because we're just this little window and, moment in time in their big universe. Like
Yes.
we're just there to, sometimes I feel like we think it's the opposite, or the industry treats it like it's the opposite. Like we're the big window and they're the small thing, but it's like, no, they're the big window and we're the small thing. So keeping perspective on their experience, but that's so much easier to do when you have,
A
you
full
know,
cup.
yeah. So as a, holistic nurse, board certified holistic nurse, and I only, for anyone ever listening, when I keep saying that, it's only because it is a specialty that not a lot of people know about. So I'm always trying to create more
Yes.
awareness around it. But during that process, that's kind of what I learned is like all these tools of how we can be more mindful of people and the situation and bring our presence, and how I, as a nurse, get to explore my mind, body, emotion, spirit, and learn to integrate those things into my own life. And am I an integrated person? Is everything what I say, like you said, the body language and what they're saying don't match? Is what I say matching my body language?
Yes.
That's a value of mine, right? I want to be an
100.
integrated human so that I can model what I'm asking other people to
Yes.
do. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the thing is I don't think people understand that if you were to be sitting here talking to me or like, yep, uh huh, yeah, it's going to really limit what I feel comfortable sharing.
Right.
And that's the thing is being in the moment with someone, and it's an honor when they let you in.
Yeah. And some of my heroes that online right now are Jen Hamilton. She's a labor and delivery nurse, and Dr. Elizabeth Porter. These are, if you're not aware of people, the people that are listening, if you're not aware of those healthcare providers, start following them on social media. They give lots of really good examples of how to bring that whole self to the experience. They're great examples of that. So question for you, do you have any like resources, books, audiobooks, videos, anything like that? Like name one or two that you might recommend for, since this is a nursing podcast, nurses to
Ooh,
read
for nurses to read, that one's,
that might enhance this experience for them?
well, I think that if they're looking at doing a shift change and they really have loved the idea of being maybe looking into being a nurse life coach, the podcast, the Nurse Life Coach Academy puts
Okay.
out an amazing podcast. There's like 200 and maybe 40-ish episodes where they
Okay.
really do start talking about what nurse life coaches look like, what they look like having their own personal business, private practice, but
Yeah.
also they're starting to integrate and being that change within the hospital.
Yes.
There's nurse coaches that have gone to hospitals and been like, hey, let's talk about this. This is something that would be really beneficial. Having that one-on-one nursing connection, talking to another nurse about where they are.
Yeah.
So that's usually one of my really good go-to podcasts. And then also there's so many like good self-help books. Nothing's really like screaming at me.
Okay.
But
No,
yeah.
I love that. I love that idea of that podcast. I love, I'm going to butt in my suggestion. The one I love is called My Stroke of Insight by Jill Bolte Taylor. I think every healthcare professional should read it. So
Oh,
highly
okay.
recommend that one. So,
Right.
all right. Anything else that you want to share about your journey, about this topic?
I one of the things I'm very passionate about is I believe as nurses, if we want to see a change within our hospitals, within our environments, that we need to be more vocal, appropriately vocal. If you're being told by administration that we have the EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, to talk to a therapist, or they have the resiliency program, there is more to nursing that we need to start advocating for ourselves.
Yeah.
And hospitals are very good at being reactive and not proactive.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of hospitals are trying to put in place wellness for their employees, but none of us want to do any more modules on the computer. None of
Right.
us want, it is not something we want to do, and we get angry and we don't want more that we have to do. But to be able to sit down and have a one-on-one conversation with someone who's a nurse that has been through this, that is willing to help coach you through whatever your goals may be. Your
Yeah.
goal may be, I want to become leadership within the hospital. Well, how do we get there? Let's talk about it. And having someone that's really invested into yourself. I think one of the things is just let hospital admin know that there are benefits to speaking one-on-one with someone. And I think that nurse life coaches could be a huge part of nursing to help support us, to help with burnout, to help decrease how many people are quitting, or help find those people who are burned out in a certain profession or a certain specialty and help them move to a different place and become happier and healthier and be a better employee, at the same time be a better person.
Yeah.
So I think that call out for everyone is just let hospital admin know. Let's start putting seeds out there and see what we can do.
Yeah. And I will also put in a plug for patients advocating for these types of services as well, being like, because I think the more voices, the better, right?
Yes.
And I think we're seeing the shift start, and we just got to keep pushing. And have courage, stand up, have boundaries. Um, People who are striking, we see you, and you know, I think I'm starting to feel that sense of hope that things can change and shift in the right direction,
And they need to.
and they
For
need to.
healthcare's sake, our patients' sake, everything. They need to change.
Yeah, amen. Agree. Well, I am just so grateful for all your wisdom, your personality, who you are, bringing your whole self today. Um, like I said, I feel like, we've only spoken one other time outside of this, and I felt like I knew you right away because we're very kindred spirits
Yes.
in this world.
Yes, we are. It's been awesome. It's
Yeah,
been great to meet you and everything, and I'm so excited with what you're doing. And
thank
like I
you.
said, I would love if you feel like there's a part that I can help with or be a part of or anything.
Yes,
Absolutely. I feel like there's things that need to change, and I'm
yeah,
really feeling it.
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Well, let's all be part of the change in a good way and um, take care of ourselves in the meantime. And you are important, you're enough. And what you do is not nearly as important as who you are. And um, your nursing career is a great asset to bring to the world, but it is not all the things that you are. So that's a message for everyone. But thank you for joining us today, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this content and this discussion about nurse coaching. And on our next podcast, I'm excited. We have someone who's going to be a guest as someone who's been on the end of healthcare from a patient perspective, and maybe a lesson in how we can be better listeners and meet our clients where they're at. So from a patient perspective, we will be having a conversation next time. So looking forward to that, and I will talk to you all soon. Lots of love and healing to you.